this interview, you'll hear from Lina LeDezma-Cortez, Project Specialist in the Expanded Learning and Community Engagement Department in the Student Services and Programs Division. Drawing on her 17 years of experience working with state and federal grants, she shares practical and essential actions managers can take to protect the integrity of documentation and prepare for audits.
Okay, welcome. Would you mind please sharing your name with us, your title, and the department that you're with?
Sure. My name is Lina LeDezma-Cortez. I'm a project specialist for the San Diego County Office of Education with the Expanded Learning Department.
And Lina, how long have you worked with grants?
I have had the pleasure of working with grants for 17 years. I've worked with ACES grants, which is the After School Education and Safety grant, as well as 21st Century federal funding for before and after school programs as well.
And I know one of the areas that you have a lot of experience in is providing coaching and support to districts when they are going through either an FPM or going through internal or external audit. So I'd love to just gain some insight from you around what has your experience been, just in a nutshell, around supporting districts with going through audits? What does that look like for you?
The grants that I provide support for are state-funded grants or federal-funded grants, and these grants are governed by the Education Code. So there's really something that the districts and the sites that have these grants have to abide by, and that is by the Education Code. And within that Education Code there are a lot of grant requirements. So in preparation or in providing guidance for districts and sites when it comes to auditing or federal program monitoring is really to look at the Education Code and make sure that every grant requirement is being followed to the best of the ability of the site. And with that, I mean, if there needs to be a certain amount of ADA, then that needs to be documented. Documentation is number one. I always tell sites, make sure to keep everything, whether it's a flyer, if you had a parent meeting, if you changed staffing, you want to make sure you keep all your records. So documentation is pretty much number one what I tell the districts and sites when I provide the guidance.
What has been some of the lessons that you've learned around being part of a grant-funded program regarding our own auditing and compliance?
Documents, as much as we want to keep everything, documents get lost. They get shredded by accident. They get put in a box and put it underneath the sink, and then they got wet. So it's really important to make sure, and I provide this guidance to the districts and sites, is to make sure that you have a safe space to keep all of the documentation and information that pertains to the grant. And that might be just a simple bookshelf or a file cabinet or a closet or a storage bin, but make sure you have your documents in a safe place, because that has happened a lot where we are going through an audit and we cannot locate, or the site cannot locate certain documentation. And that always seems to come up. And that's unfortunate because the site knows that they have the documents, but now they can't find them.
Do you recommend, Lina, you're mentioning a lot of hard copies, and I know some sites will keep electronic archives of things. Is it best to have one over the other?
Well, we're actually going through some auditing right now. This is the time of the year where there's audits out in our sites. And we thought we were going to be able to provide just that online documentation, a Google form, electronic files to the auditors, and they have actually they continue to ask for hard copies. So I would recommend that documentation for your grants be kept in both manners, electronically as well as a hard copy in a binder with the fiscal year, the name of the site, the name of the program, whether it's whatever grant it is, a 21st Century or an ACES or any grant. Always keep everything labeled and in order so that it's readily available in case of an audit.
What is the biggest challenge when districts or even our own SDCOE programs are going through an audit?
I think just the word audit puts people, a little nervous. It did for me for many years, but I think just being able to be truthful to whatever we have been running, whatever programs we've been running, however our grants are specified by the education code. I think if we stay true to that and we try to keep everything in order, then when it's auditing time, we don't have to get nervous, because sometimes people tend to just get nervous automatically because they hear an audit. And then they feel like, oh, we're going to lose our money, or we didn't do something right. But it's always best to be truthful, to provide information that you have, to make sure you're running to the best of the ability of the program, of the site, and aligning it with your regular school day. And that way, everybody really can speak to your grant and your program.
What is, in your experience, been the good side of being or going through an audit?
Yeah, I think audits are great, actually. I really do, because I think that that's the one time that districts and sites, and even us at the county office, we can really make sure we have a check and balance. We see if the programs are following what's in the education code, the grant requirements, the deadlines, the submission of reports. That's our internal way, as well as the district and the sites. That is their way to make sure that they're running the grant to fidelity as they're supposed to.
And what is something that our own sites have been through when they've been through an audit? What are some things that they've learned about themselves or the program?
I find that sites many times take things for granted. And one way, and in another way, it's like they're so busy every day, they just assume it's business as usual. Just the students come in, they run their programs. However, they need to take a step back, I think, and really think about the grant that they have at their site, why they have it, how much money they have, who they're supposed to be serving, if they're supposed to be prioritizing students, if they're supposed to be facilitating information for parents in different languages. They really need to pay attention to those grant requirements. And sometimes, like I said, they take it for granted. They just say, oh, the program is here. And then sometimes they're just so busy doing the work every day, they don't take a moment to really look at the details of what the grant specifications are. And I think that that's one thing that districts and sites really learn when they go through an audit or a federal program monitoring, is to look at the fine print, I would say, the details of what all we're supposed to be doing with this money that's coming in to serve these kids.
And my last question is, what makes you the happiest when you're working with a school site or when you're working with a grant-funded program? What makes you the happiest?
What makes me the happiest is going to a site and seeing the kids in programs, the students, and seeing families picking up their students and seeing staff working with the students. That makes me happy, because I see that there's programs out there that are being provided by taxpayer money so that the students have an opportunity to enjoy, to learn, to be in a safe place. That makes me happy. Another thing that makes me happy is when it's auditing time and districts and sites reach out to us and say, we need help with this, or we need help with that, or this is our audit finding that we have. That shows me that the work that we're doing, one is making sure to provide support to districts and sites, but other that our districts trust us, and they know that we're here to support them as a county office through the auditing process, and we're always going to be next to them hand by hand to make sure that we can provide the best support and guidance regarding their grants.
Lina, I want to thank you. I know you've served our students in before and after school programs across the county for many, many years. And I know that they're running high quality programs that sometimes run into little hiccups, but they find a way to get through it with your coaching and support. So please know that we appreciate you and appreciate everything you bring to the table to support our program. So thank you, Lina, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Gabby. Absolutely. Anytime.